Hey guys, it's Michael. Welcome back to Faro Iron and Customs. I'm Michael, and today we are going to be working on doing the front bags on the 50 Ford. First thing though, if you'll notice above my head, I have both of my lights out right above our workspace. So, I'm going to get up in that rafter and get, let's see, it's right there. I got one light there, and the other light's the one I've been using it for a light in the back of the car. So, since we're not going to be working in the back of the car right now, I'm going to go ahead and hang those two lights, take the old lights down, and maybe get some more light up here in the front, and then we're going to get to work. But first, we're going to have a moon pie and a Coke. Alright guys, I got me some light. I can see better over in this corner than I've been able to see probably ever. So before we get started, we're going to take a measurement from the chassis to the floor. And I do want y'all to bear in mind my floor is not level. And what does that say? 29 and, oops, I went the wrong way. 19 3/4. 19 3/4, and I have the tire jacked up on a jack, and it measures 17 3/4 almost. So the suspension needs to come up another. The suspension needs to come up another 2 inches. Alright, well, I took the bump stop out of the A-frame, and as you can see, the place where the bump stop goes, I don't know if you can see in there, yeah, but the place where the bump stop attaches to the A-frame is hitting the frame of the car. It looks like it's about an inch thick, so what I'm going to do is drop the frame down, pop the tire off, cut that out, see how much I get out of it. Because the thing you have to understand about an A-frame suspension, and I don't think it's going to make that much because we're 3 inches from the pivot in the lower A-frame, but the A-arm, the further away from the spring you get, the more lift. Anyway, you get back to geometry. So we may get 1.5 inches from that. We may only get 1 inch. I've heard people say you have to cut the frame. Not a problem. We're going to do whatever we got to do. So I'm going to get this tire off, and then we're going to take that piece out. Alright guys, this is the part I'm cutting off. This is where the bump stop would have mounted. I took the bump stop out already, and obviously it's not enough room. Like I said, this is approximately 1 inch thick. We'll measure it when we get it out. What I'm going to do, I'm hoping I can get to it without taking these mounts off, is cut these rivets out. I didn't want to cut them from the bottom because I don't want to damage the frame. This is the part of the A-frame that we're going to keep, or the side links. So we should go for it. That's ugly. Alright, I'm going to have to cut this one opposite. I don't like cutting this way. Here, let me move y'all because I know that you can't see through my arm. Can you see? I can't see because I got safety glasses on. Alright. So basically that's what I'm doing. I'm going to cut those off, and I'm going to do both sides now while I'm working on it. And we're going to get this out, and then we'll pop the tire back on, and we'll come back and see how high it goes. We may have to come in here and take a little bit out of that area. Ooh, and that's like double thick in there. It's got an actual double thickness in there. So that may be fun. So let's get this cut out and we'll come back. Alright guys, so I got those knocked off, and we only, there's the one from the right side, the one from the left side under the drill. We've only got another inch up, so it's just a little higher than 18 inches. Right now the front cross member is 19 inches from the floor. So the question is if we let it hit the frame and stop, will we get enough tire deflection that it actually hits the ground anyway? And then we won't, we'll have a positive stop and we won't have to worry about hitting the bags. I know if I ran a taller tire, we would have to cut the chassis. I still think I might take a ½ inch out of each side and see what happens. But I think I'm going to move on because I need to go ahead and get an idea about what the frame needs to be shaped like. So we're going to drop it down and go ahead and start working on that. Alright guys, this is kind of what I've been working on since I got the A-frame out. I cleaned it up, found out where, well, first of all, let me show you, if you were going to use a 2500 bag in this, it would almost probably fit. You could set it back just a little bit and get away with it. The only thing is, if you set it back, you're lifting further back and it's creating more of a fulcrum. You'd need more air pressure to lift it, so you wouldn't get as good a ride with it as far back, or you'd have more air pressure in the bags. The bags would be harder the further back you make them. And that's the point behind using the 2600s, is to not have to use as much air pressure to get as much lift, so you don't have quite as hard a ride. And that goes with any kind of spring. So I'm going to have to modify the A-frame to get the 2600s. You can see that the 2600s, I mean, if you put them on top of the frame, you could build a spacer, put it on top of the frame, you'd never have to worry about it, but you'd have to go up into the frame horn of the car and cut out so that you won't hit the bag. So you're going to be cutting and modifying something. My choice is to modify the frame because I want the airbag to sit as low down in the frame as possible. So what I did was I cut out, to begin with, I cut out a template to give me 3/4 of an inch all the way around the bag. I think that's a little excessive. It may even be closer to 1 inch, and I think we'd have room for this. I checked, the tire would hit the frame way before it hits the A-frame, but I just don't like it. So I went back and I created another template, this time with only like a ½ inch, and I like that better. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it centered up. We're going to cut out some pieces that are going to tack or weld to the outside of the A-frame top. And I'm not sure about the bottom yet, because what I'm thinking is on the bottom, because I want to plate the whole frame in, and I know I've got to have a new piece of plate for the bottom, for the bag mount, and we'll get into that whenever we get to it, so I don't spend a lot of time explaining. But we're going to make these pieces. I don't have the steel to make the bottom plate, so I'll have to go get that from and I'm not even sure if they'll be open tomorrow, since tomorrow is the day after New Year's. So I'm going to get these cut out. I know what shape I can put in here, basically, because I want to put a piece back in here. I don't think that it creates a whole lot of structure, but it does create some structure to the A-arm at the end, right here where there's going to be pressure. So we're going to put a piece of steel back across here. I may even go up as much as 1/4 with that. I don't think I need to, though. I think 1/8 is fine. But anyway, let's get into this. We're going to cut out some parts, get these frames modified as far as we can, take and weld some spacers in so we can take this bottom plate off, and then I'll just get a piece of steel ordered, and we're going to set the bag far enough down in the frame that, you know, basically only the top portion of the bag is going to be sticking out. So we're going to keep on going. Alright guys, Glenn was over, we were talking about some stuff. I went ahead and made a pattern for the wings that are going to go on this. I thought he had a piece of plate that I was going to be able to use to make the bottom plate on one side, but it was a little too short, so or it was not long enough this way. There was plenty of length this way, not enough this way, so it is what it is. I'll have to wait until the metal store opens to get that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these wings out. That's probably all I'm going to do today. I'm going to hang with the wife for a little while, enjoy our little bit of vacation. Kind of concerned that I'm going to hit that right there. That's some things. When I say you're using your pattern, do a dry run to make sure you're not going to hang up. And there's a little bit of roughness right there. What did I do with my glasses? Give me a second, I'll find my glasses. Alright, we cleaned that up, just cut that burr off, and we're gonna go for it. Like I said, you want to do a dry run, and this is gonna fall whenever I cut it because I got the pliers holding it. And I already caught. Went a little fast. That's one cut out. We clean them up. We're going to clean all four of them at the same time so they're all the same shape. We're going to go ahead and cut another one off of this side. Anyway, I'm going to finish cutting these out and I'll come back. Alright guys, that's where we're going to leave off for right this minute. I'm going to come back tomorrow probably and work on this again. But we're going to build this up. Then I'm going to cut the inside out and build a plate for the bottom. We'll get into all that when we get to it. Alright guys, it's Friday and we're back out in the garage. I'm working on making the lower control arm, or setting up the lower control arm. I just wanted y'all to get an idea about how I'm setting this up. I'm actually about to space. If you remember, I made the spacer for the back. Alright, like I was saying, if you remember, I made this spacer to set up the back bag location. So all I've done is taken the upper bag mount plates, cups, and bolted that in there just like a bag, and I've set it up. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give myself a little room. I know I'm going to come back and trim this area when I have the chassis upside down, and I'm going to trim this out really nice and make a pocket for this to come up in. But I want to give myself some more room so underneath the bag so the arm can go higher. So I just kind of wanted to show y'all how I'm setting this up. The other side I'm going to do differently because I'm going to build this side on the car, I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to build the other side based on how this one turns out. And all I did was cut out a bottom plate, and I have it mounted with bolts to that spacer I made, and I'm bolting it all together, pushing the A-frame all the way up, and I'm going to come in and start boxing it in and then I'll get it off the car. So I'll show you a little more about how I'm doing this, but I'll probably go over in detail how you know, how I'm setting it up when I start doing the right hand side. Alright guys, before I get too far along with this, I've got it, the bottom plate where I wanted it. I've tacked it to the back, made some spacers at the front. I'm going to do the front arm the same, the right side the same way when I build it. I'm going to build this one on the table, and I'm going to show you how I build it on the other one on the table. Like I said, I just wanted to get this one built on the car so I know how it's right. I may actually stick the other one on the car to make sure the bolt holes are right before we, you know, completely weld it up. Another thing, in a future video, I've got to fix these holes. I wanted to do it in this video, but this bolt, the bolt that the bottom pivot rotates on, is 3/4 of an inch by 11 threads. Standard coarse threads are 3/4 of an inch by 10. So I've actually talked to a couple of machinists about it, and you know, they're just as, you know, it surprised them as well. Both of them asked me, are you sure it's not metric? And you know, it could be a 18 by 2.5, which would put it about, or 2.25, which would put it at 11 threads per inch. But I doubt it's metric. So anyway, let me get this to where we're doing the next part. And if you didn't see the other video about making the bag cups, go back and watch it. I just posted it today. I will leave a link in the description. Like I said, that was about a 17-minute video, and I knew this video was going to run long, so I went ahead and split and did 2 videos. So that's basically the upper bag mount. It just attaches through the stock shock hole with a piece of all thread. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, this Sunday, this is what I've come up with for the lower control arm so far. It needs to be cleaned up thoroughly. I'm thinking that's probably not going to happen until I get to the point of tearing the car back down and cleaning up the chassis, and then I'm going to smooth all this out. I got a couple places the welds need to be redone. I want to add a piece of metal. I want to triangulate down to here and then add a piece of metal under here, just to, you know, give the tips of this strength. I've got to repair the holes in this A-arm, and we're going to be a separate video on that, but it's not going to be right away. It's going to be when we get back into doing the final fit up for everything. Like I said, I didn't record a whole lot of making that arm. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to record making this one. I made that one on the car, pretty much made sure everything was going to fit, and I'm going to build this arm, the other arm, based off of this arm. So all I've done here is I've taken a piece of metal, a piece of plywood, and I'm hoping I don't set this on fire, and made a template to cut out the base. And it's not going to work without power. That did not do so bad. I was expecting that to go up in flames. I know I've watched the videos where the guys have used MDF and not had any problems. I'm very pleasantly surprised at that. Alright, like I said, I was expecting that to go up in flames. I could have cut both of them out like that. Alright guys, as you can see, I got both of the I have both of the A-arms laying up here. This is the one that I'm not quite done with it. I've got to do a little more. I just added this section here to keep this from spreading. I wish I'd have actually measured and done that before I started working on it, but since this arm needs to be repaired at the end anyway, it's not gonna cause that much of an issue. But if you're gonna do this, this is what I'd go on and do to start with. As you can see on this arm, I put the old bolt back in it and nut, tightened it. I put some tape around it to keep spatter from getting on the threads. You can do that with anti-spatter or whatever, but you want to be able to get this bolt back out without destroying the arms. Alright, and kind of the reason why I hadn't already done this on this arm was I didn't know where it needed to be because of where our bag bracket was going to end up coming back in, or our arm was going to come back in. So, you know, you have to, the first one is hard, the second one is a little easy, going to be a little easier because we already kind of know where everything needs to go, and we have learned some different things through building the first arm that's going to help us get the second arm built. Alright, so we have this mounted at the front, and I did weld right across the front of this arm, the bottom arm, at the front before I took the bottom plate off of it to keep everything in order. So I've welded it here. I put a brace across the back to keep the arm from moving, and then of course you have, if you haven't taken the joint out of the back, you still have this. This one is still really tight. I'm going to clean this up and use the factory joint over because there's nothing wrong with them. There's no need of spending that money if there's nothing wrong with them. So the next thing I need to do is take this plate off of the bottom, and these two are not so much of a problem because you're actually going to cut across here and across here, but this one you've definitely got to get out. So I want to get this plate out of the way without damaging it. Technically you're not using it over, so you could just cut it off and rock and roll. I think I ended up trying to cut the first one out, and you can cut the head of this one off and you can cut the head of this one off, but this one has to be drilled out. So I'm gonna get this plate off. Alright guys, you'll see I've made a few marks here on this, and this is, if you're going to do something like this is to save you some work. I struggled hard yesterday finishing up this part when I cut it out, because it's really hard to cut this area out with the plasma, and you won't be able to get a grinder into it because of everything in the way. So I'm going to take a grinder and I'm going to cut that right there, and I'm going to cut there. I'm going to just zip that head of that rivet off and cut this whole area out. Sorry guys, I meant to hit record on that. All I did was cut where I wanted, like I said, just so you won't have to worry about cutting this with the plasma. The rest of it you'll be able to get to the plasma and zip through. This rivet's the only one in the way. I may actually take a punch and try to knock those out. I didn't knock them out. Alright, so the next thing we need to do, and I already set myself some lines, is get this lined up. And I've got to measure and see what I need to go between here and here to hold this up. It looks like, and when I had it on the car I didn't measure it, I just cut two pieces and ground them to fit. So that looks like 1 inch and 3/8. What I'm going to do is get some flat bar. I've made the first ones. Hang on. Alright, I'm absolutely hearing things. The first one I made out of square tubing, and then it ended up cutting out most, I can't even talk. I ended up cutting out most of the square tubing. So this one I'm just going to take and cut me 2 pieces of flat bar. And that right there looks like it'll do the trick. So we're going to cut this off at 1 3/8. Cut 2 pieces, and then we're going to make sure our measurements are right and weld this in place, and we'll be back in just a second. Alright guys, if you'll notice, I didn't weld this because that's going to get cut, and there's no need of welding what's going to get cut. Yeah, that template's pretty much, maybe we'd have got 2 uses out of it, but I'm going to put it in a fire bowl. Alright guys, I just made a template and cut out some pieces to go along the side, and what I'm trying to do is get it lined up as best as I can and tack it in place. Gonna need, the ground's already there, need a welder. Like I said, you want to try to get this lined up as best as possible. You could go ahead and try to bend it. Alright, got a tack there. We come next to the next spot that's touching. Tack it. Tack it. And then just work it around. Tack it. Oop. Tack it. You see where my plasma cutter's starting to act up a little bit. I've actually got a new torch for it that I ordered way back when I first got it, because Glenn and I were messing around building something in his shop, and the switch broke on it, and I couldn't find the switches, and then I did find switches, but anyway, I ended up with another torch, and we're going to end up using that other torch at some point. I think I used a C-clamp. And all you want to do is pull it around to where you can get it to fit tight. And since it's shaped on a curve, it will pull itself into place around that curve. And let's see how tight do we get it there. Not quite where it needs to be. We can put a tack here. And other side is going to need a little more shaping to get it to line up. This side needs just a whack or two. Alright. That one is in place. And I could have got that a little better than I did, but we're going to just fill it up with welds. It's just to make the arm look pretty anyway. I'm trying to box it a little bit. Alright, that side is in. Spread back out. I have a hole in my hand. Now we can put the clamp back on. Everything's falling off of my table, but that's alright. We're not going to be able to close it completely right there because there's a gap. So we'll just take and get a little filler and fill that gap. Oh, we need a ground. Alright, and that's how I'm making these. Alright guys, I got it welded up, and I actually took the plasma cutter and I'm cutting this piece out so I can get my final shape. As you can see, once you get this plate welded in here, the only way you could have cut that leg would have been with a torch or maybe one of those mini cut-off saws or something like that, but like I said, I just wasn't able to do it. I made this template. This is actually the same shape as this is, so what we're going to do is use it to cut out the circle. Alright guys, what I'm going to do here is I'm just taking a hammer and I've got a jack stand here on the floor. I'm using a ball peen of I think it's a 24-ounce hammer. Going against the, let me show you what I'm doing here. Let's see, there's the jack stand. I'm just taking a hammer and laying it across the saddle of the jack stand and creating a rounded area. And you can go a little beyond where you need to go with this. And once you start tacking in, you can bring it back where it needs to be. And that's not quite enough. We need a little more rounded right there. It's the thickest. And now, let's see, that looks about where it needs to be. We got to have a little more right here at the end. And what I'm going to end up doing is I want it pulled in there, and I want it to sit up tight where I can weld it on a 45 and get it, you know, tight and right. As Bad Chad would say, tight and right. I like that. And what I got to do is I'm going to have to take and mark. I dropped my pen on the floor. Where did it go? There's so much stuff on the floor. Alright, get y'all where you can see this. Back pointing at the table. And I'm just going behind here and marking this area, and I'm going to cut it off. And I'm actually going to cut this off back here too. So I'm going to take the grinder, I'm going to cut that off, I'm going to chop that off, get it tacked in and get the other one made the same way, and I'll come back. Alright guys, there they are, shaped up and everything. I'm going to end the video here. Oh, I was going to say in that last clip I was having some problems, and I need to go back and grind that one out. There's some porosity problems in the weld. Maybe I'll clean the tip again, but it was not blocked and it's got plenty of gas, so I'm not sure what was causing that. So like I said, I'm going to end this video here. There's no way in the world I get the car out and in the other building tonight. I mean, it's already Sunday night. I'm a day late on posting this video. So those control arms have taken me, the first one took me about 10 hours, and I've been out here, it's after 3 now, and I've been out here since about 9 o'clock this morning. So and working at it pretty hard, so it's taking a while to get it all done. Alright, I hope you guys can see that. There is I don't have the light. I actually repaired the lights in the shop, and I used the light that I've been using under the car to get the lights up front. So I got to come up with something else for a light, but I've plumbed the bags in the back. And let's see, that's 45 pounds of air pressure. I'm having some problems with the fittings leaking. In particularly that T, I think it's the wrong size. I don't know if it's for metric line or what, but it's definitely not working like it's supposed to and not sealing up. But the back is plumbed in. It'll hold air long enough to get it to the other building. And this is just, like I said, a temporary plumbing until we get the car actually done. And like I said, we're going to call it there for today. The next video, I hope, we got a winter storm coming. It is, as you can see, it's cold out here. We got a winter storm coming in, so I don't know what it's going to be like the rest of the week. But my intention is to finish off these control arms, and there's a couple of places I need to weld up in the back, get the front plumbed in, and then hopefully we'll be ready to go to the other side. And that'll be next Sunday's video. I'd expect, unless something crazy goes on, Glenn and I are talking about working on the mini truck on Friday. So anyway, like and subscribe. I'll see y'all later.